Hello everyone and welcome back to the Rachelle Anne Miller YouTube channel. Today is in between Christmas and New Year's, so I think that I can still share this Christmas card with you. I'm using the polar bear ride, including the sentiment that is in this digital stamp. Just wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year already. This card was for my parents, and I actually always need to share it afterwards because they are following everything that I do, and they will know that this card was going to be for them if I shared it previously. So sharing it only now, I also think, or at least for me, it's the case that, well, in between Christmas and New Year's, you can still give Christmas cards because half of my cards are always sent out a bit too late. But in the end, when they arrive, everyone is happy, so that's the most important thing. I printed this image on translucent perfect coloring paper, and I wanted to create like a polar bear. So I went with my grays, and as you could see, I used the colorless blender to just fade out a bit more the edges of my flicking here to get a really soft white bear. So I just did that, and I must admit that the coloring of this image, I did it when this digital stamp was released, and it has been a while already, but it's so adorable and I really wanted to color it. I just didn't know how I was going to finish off this card. So it took me a while, and actually I finished this card on Christmas Day itself. And then of course the editing and stuff had to happen still, so that's why I'm only sharing it now, and to keep this card a secret for my parents. They were really excited to get this one, and they were like, but I haven't seen it, and when did you share it? And I was like, well, I haven't. Still have to prep everything because otherwise you would have known. But they really love all of the images by Rachelle Anne Miller. They are really a big fan, so I know that every card that I make with it, they want it. So I have to be a bit secretive, you know. So I'm building up my coloring. I color from darkest to lightest with my markers, but there are many ways to color with your alcohol markers. So just to you, if you prefer another order, that's perfectly fine. Everyone has kind of its own method and it works all. It's just about having fun, loving the end result, and this is what works for me. So concerning the shadowing, I wanted to have them all kind of on the right side of each element so that we have some sort of a light source on the left side happening. You don't see it, but it's there, you know. So I did that a bit. I also used my favorite teal blue color. I love it to use this color for images from Rachelle Anne Miller. It just works so perfectly every time, again and again. So I went with teals and then yellow, and then I have my lovely tree here that is really joyful green as well. I also use the sentiments. You can put the sentiment underneath as well. You can snip it off. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. But I really love the mixture of scripts. I'm weak when it concerns sentiments with different scripts. It's a bit fun. It draws the attention. It's just perfect. So here I kept it, and I'm going to use the same yellow that I used on the scarf on the stars as well. Now concerning color combinations, you can find them in the description box right here, as well as on my blog post. There is a link towards it in the description box as well. There you will also find all of the other elements. But I kept the amount of products kind of limited, I think. There are many ways to recreate this card with more or less products even. It's all up to you to have fun with it. So how about your Christmas cards? Did you have enough when Christmas was there? Did you lack Christmas cards like I still did? I like Christmas cards, and so I even made a few the day itself, the day afterwards. I saw my neighbors, and all of a sudden I realized that I didn't give them any cards. I'm just living here since August, so I made 5 similar cards for them, but each time other colors. I think that's also something that you can easily do with these digital stamps, is just to print it multiple times. If you have a card design that works, use other colors, use other stencils if you want to, and just have a bit of fun with that. Here I'm just going to lay a bit of a mask on top. I have just printed this on print paper. It's not any masking paper, but with a bit of repositional adhesive or removable ones. You can easily get rid of it afterwards. And then to create some sort of a scene, I ripped a piece of paper, cheap print paper again, and I'm going to use this rough edge to create like a snowy kind of vibe. I am using my favorite distress ink being cracked pistachio, since I also use the teals on the image. So I'm just going to softly implant a bit of grounding on the bottom of this panel, and if you want to, you can stop right there, or if you want to, you can use a specific snowy hill stencil, or another stencil that you might have that you really love the edge from. So already here you have many possibilities to change it up depending on what you prefer doing. You can also create your own grounding by using your markers, and if you want to, you can stop right here. You can die cut it in a panel that is perfect for your card. But I decided to do a bit of something with like the sky or top area. I wanted to give it something extra, so I actually took my Nuvo Glimmer Paste Moonstone. I don't use it all the time, actually barely, but I took that one, and I took the Longfon Starry Sky stencil, and I'm just going to create a tiny bit of interest around the image without distracting or overlapping the image. So I just used the other piece of paper to mask off my snowy hill because I didn't want any stars on the snowy hill. I ripped a piece of paper to prevail my the sentiment for being ruined, and I again used a bit of that repositionable adhesive to make sure that it was stuck on there. Now next I'm going to add my stencil. Here I'm using tons of purple tape just to prevent it from shifting, and then I will take my paste, my spatula here, and I will just add a small or thin layer of this paste all over my panel. Once I have covered everything, I am also going to scrape off the excess and put it back in the jar because we can save on our pastes here. So I just made sure to go over everything, that I covered it all, and let's then put it back in the jar, close it really well, that way it will not get dry, and then I could remove my tiny mask here. Now I realized that the adhesive here unfortunately took a bit away from my sentiment, as you can see, but I'm just going to fix that by using a black fine liner to help me get all of the sentiment back. So I just took here first my my adhesive eraser to get rid of the excess that was still on there, and then for the sentiment I just fixed it really carefully with this small, it's a Copic multi-liner, but any black fine liner will do. Just take your time. It was also maybe easier if I waited just until the paste was dry to do this, because this way I was afraid as well to put my hand into that paste. That was not going to work, but I went really carefully, and it worked out fine. So once I did that, I let this panel dry, and I came back the next day. You don't need to wait this long, but I was lacking time that day itself, so I came back the day after, and I just took my biggest basic rectangles from Mama Elephant, which is a basic A2 sized rectangular die, to cut this panel perfectly to size. I'm just making sure that it stays in place using some washi tape, and then I'm going to add this panel on top of a card base. Now normally whenever I have some hats, I used some stickers to put on top of the white areas, but since I already had all of this glitter in the background, I decided to take my Nuvo Crystal Drops Simply White and go over all of the white details to give it a bit of something extra. And so I used this one. Afterwards, I used my craft knife to help me position the white stuff a bit better because, well, it's not always as easy to go into those tiny areas. But just take something with a sharp point that you can wiggle things around, get rid of the excess, and it will all just work out fine. Once I was happy with that, my card was completely finished. This was a Christmas card for my parents. Again, if you don't use the sentiment, you can also use it for like New Year's and stuff, and you can have an excuse to use it all year around, in my opinion. So that's that for today. I want to thank you all for being here. I hope that you have a wonderful end of this year and some stunning new adventures next year. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe to never miss anything, and I'll be back soon with some new crafty inspiration. Bye!